Good evening and welcome to the Fall Forum for the Town of Winthrop. The Winthrop Town Charter has a provision, Section 9, Chapter 12, I believe, that requires the Council President to conduct two public forums for the town. One in the spring, which is usually generated around finance, and one in the fall, which is generated around delivery of services. I thank you all for attending. I'm going to turn it over to the town manager, and he will have some words, some introductions, and again, I thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Thanks, everybody. I'm excited to be here. This is my first fall forum. I was lucky enough to attend the spring forum before I started here, so thank you for having me. Sunday will mark my 5-month anniversary here in Winthrop, so I'm excited. We've done a lot, and it's been busy, but I'm looking forward to the next many years here. Just wanted to highlight some of the things we've done in the first 5 months. As a team here, we've negotiated 6 union contracts with 2 left to complete. And on that, I do want to point out, coming here, knowing that there's so many open union contracts, I had the pleasure of meeting with all the department heads before I took the job. And, I obviously hadn't met a lot of the staff, but doing the union negotiations and meeting the e-boards and the union stewards, they're a great group. You got great employees here. They're reasonable. It was a great negotiation. So I just want, the residents and the council to know that. It was a really good process, and we've got a couple left to do, and we'll get those done in short order and move forward. And that'll hopefully cover us through 2025. We also staffed the assessor's office with a consultant. Patrick Herring's here. Patrick stepped in and helped us out. He's working closely with the Department of Revenue to get our reval done this year, and also working on our new growth figures, so thank you for that, Patrick. We had 2 vacant positions in the Treasurer Collector's office. We filled both of those. Brendan Karit came over from Nahant. He's our new Treasurer Collector. Brendan, in the back there, say aye. And Imani Combs, also he is hired as our Assistant Treasurer Collector. As we spoke about earlier, for those who didn't see the meeting, we're also working with the schools. The CFO is the next position to fill, and we're working with the schools to create a Chief Financial Officer / School Business Manager or Director position, and we're using Community Paradigm to assist us with that search. We also filled the Veterans Agent position. I got here, and we had to fill that position, and we were excited to bring Phil Ronan on board, so Phil, thank you for that. I think I saw Phil come in, maybe not. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's his birthday today, I'm sorry. So we'll wish Phil a happy birthday. And then we would also receive bids at the request of the council to do facilities needs assessment for not only our town buildings, town and school buildings that we spoke about earlier, but also our water mains and associated infrastructure. And lastly, as the council talked about at the last meeting, Winthrop has been recognized recently by several nationwide magazines and other sources as one of the top places to live and best places to live in Massachusetts. I don't have to tell the people in this room; they already knew that, but now they know word's getting out. So with that, we were approached by the ICMA, which is the International City Managers Association, and they asked us, they wanted to do a video of Winthrop, kind of a 6-minute piece, and asked us what we wanted to focus on. What we chose to focus on was the business aspect. We wanted to say why Winthrop was a great place to do business in, why we had a great business community, and really with, the redevelopment of the middle school parcel and other things we want to bring to town, we thought that was a good direction to take. We hope to attract new businesses that want to come here to Winthrop. We've got a great infrastructure. We already have great businesses in town, and we're only looking to enhance it. This video was also recently featured in the ICMA conference, was held down in Columbus, Ohio. And without further ado, and I'm going to stop talking now and pass it off, we've got some other presenters, but I'm also going to play the video right now. So this is sort of the premiere. A few people have seen it, but this is the premiere. It'll be up on our website, so we get to play the video right now. It's about 6 minutes.
Winthrop, Massachusetts is a coastal town right next to Boston and Logan Airport. We're a peninsula, and we have about approximately 1.6 square miles with a coastline of 7 miles. Our population is slightly over 19,000 people. It's an historic town, founded in around 1630. It was named after John Winthrop, who was a governor in Massachusetts. The Dean Winthrop House here is a historic home that's in town. It was built in 1637, now currently a museum in town. We've got an open for business mentality. And one of the things that drew me was just the dedication, the love for the town. A lot of people, homegrown talent, born and raised here and now work here. You don't find that a lot. And that's to be this close to Boston, this close to the airport, and have that small town feel, it's really amazing.
There is an extremely close relationship, especially with public safety facilities. With our police and fire, they run a lot of community events that involve all the residents, old, young, everybody. I've been on the Winthrop Town Council since 2005. As I've been here for a long time and have gained a lot of experience, I thought it would be best that I ran for council president, which I was successful in doing in 2021. We're very much supportive of each other, the town, the schools, and the community together.
I think Winthrop is extremely safe community, and we make it that way by design. I've grown up in Winthrop my whole life. I did leave for a short period of time, so I've been here for my entire life except 4 years. And love working here in Winthrop. It's a very unique experience for me to live in the community in which I police. Winthrop is geographically isolated. In order to get to Winthrop, you got to come through East Boston or Revere. Having just one entrance on either side of town allows us to really focus on who's coming in and who's coming out. We clear major crimes at about a 98% clearance rate. So we have a really well-rounded police department that's not just worrying about enforcement and arresting people, but really worrying about the underlying causes of crime and how are we addressing that underlying cause of crime. I have kids that grow up here and go to the school system here. The collaboration with the school has always been great, and today it's so necessary to have that collaboration.
Although I'm a superintendent of schools here in Winthrop now, I was actually born and raised and still reside here in Winthrop, and I am a graduate of the Winthrop Public Schools. We are a relatively small school district here in Winthrop, approximately 2,000 students. Winthrop's Miller Field is a great gathering space for our students and our community. We have games during the day, we have games at night. The community is always invited to our games. And we have a beautiful theater in Winthrop High School named after a former teacher. The relationship that I have between the other town departments is very close relationship with the DPW, police, and fire, as well as the town manager. We speak pretty much daily to make sure that the needs of the students here in Winthrop are met.
When I was a kid, there was no rink here, but they used to freeze the tennis courts in front of the high school. And Mr. Larson was a big part of our community. He was the guy that stood out there at night and froze that tennis court so kids could skate. With him and a few other guys in the town were the founders of Winthrop Hockey. I'm Mike Ruzioni. I was captain of the 1980 U.S. Olympic gold medal winning hockey team and resident here of Winthrop. In the 1980 Winter Olympics, I scored the winning goal against the Soviet Union in the semifinal game to lead us to the gold medal game against Finland. And then after the Olympics, they changed the name to the Larson Rink at the Mike Ruzioni Center. So that was really the basis behind the rink, and it was obviously a great honor for me to have my name associated with Mr. Larson. My connection to Winthrop is I've never left Winthrop. It's just a beautiful community. People take care of each other in the town. Everybody seems to know each other. So it's amazing the people in the town that come here, they live here, they're successful here, and they stay here.
I've been a small business owner for the past 20 years. This is my 20th anniversary this year, and it's just great to be in a small town like that. Our customer base is very much local, and it's a great place to own a business.
La Siesta is a family restaurant in Winthrop. I run the restaurant with my wife and son. We started with just 8 tables, and now we seat 140 people. We serve traditional Mexican cuisine with recipes of my mother. The Winthrop government has always been very supportive.
A lot of people leave for work during the day. So my job as town manager is try to get people back during the day. The ferry helps with that. It actually helps our community and helps our commuters. Winthrop Ferry stops in 3 stops: Quincy, Massachusetts, the Aquarium, which is also the financial district in Boston, and also the Seaport district in Boston. And it makes regular routes Monday through Friday. Winthrop did what's called the CBD, or the Center Business District, over. Redid the whole thing. French Square is there. It's a new outdoor pavilion, lots of seating. We've got a lot of great businesses there, a lot of great restaurants, and the business owners were very patient during that time frame when the construction was going on. Winthrop was proud not to lose any restaurants during the pandemic. They really worked hard to keep them open and work with the business owners to make sure that they stayed open and got through the tough times. And that commitment to the business owners exists today.
So the Winthrop Arms, it's been here for over 100 years now. My father took it over 45 years ago, and he was the 3rd owner. That makes me the 4th owner of this place. And it's been here, since the Titanic. The first floor is a full-service restaurant, dining room, function room, outdoor seating, bar area. And the 2nd floor is 12 hotel rooms. The 3rd floor, 16 apartments. We have all-American food where we have chops, fresh seafood, and of course our chicken pot pie. My father called everybody doctor. So in coming up with the chicken pot pie name, we had to incorporate him into it, and it was Doc's Chicken Pot Pie. I love Winthrop. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. It's my hometown. It'll be my hometown forever.
We want to let anybody know that's looking that we're ready to roll out the red carpet and work with anybody who wants to come here and enhance our already great business community.
Come to Winthrop. It's absolutely a hidden gem.
So that video will be available on our website, and we're certainly going to use it. The benefit to this is we get to keep all the footage, so we can actually, cut different segments that we want, make recruitment videos, things like that. So we're excited to do that. I want to thank everybody that was involved in that. And without further ado, we're going to jump over and bring up our Director of Parks and Recreation, Sean, and get an update on what's going on with a lot of activity on our courts and things, projects he's got going on. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Tony. That's a great video. Tough act to follow there, but just a couple of quick notes on a couple of things that we're doing as a department, as a town, as a community. As you can see, the picture up there is a replica of what we're doing down at Coughlin Park. We're adding 3 pickleball courts down where the tennis courts are located at Coughlin Park. And if go a little history on why we chose that spot. Years ago, when they were building the new school, there was a lot of talk about not having the tennis courts or having the tennis courts. We added 2 more courts at Ingleside Park to make up for the loss of the ones at the high school. Well, a couple of years later, they decided to keep the ones at the high school, and we have an overabundance of tennis courts. So the most tennis courts for 1 square mile town, I think I found out, was 4. We actually have 8. With Coughlin makes 9. So the sport of pickleball is growing. We run a winter program at the old middle school gym, starting after Thanksgiving, actually, and runs to after Christmas, and it's very popular. We have a lot of people requesting it. We have set up portable nets where people come to our office, they take the nets for the day or a couple of days, they leave their ID, and we have portable courts set up at the other tennis courts at Ingleside. And we don't have them at the high school as of yet. But the sport is growing, actually becoming a varsity sport at the high school level, I think, next year. So it's fast growing. I don't know if no one ever did not hear about it. It's really popular. Matter of fact, Tom Brady just bought a professional pickleball team. So with that said, we're trying to get this done sooner. We just put bids out, just got them back on Friday. We're waiting to reward the winning bidder and try to get going on that right away. I think it's going to be very successful down there. It's a beautiful spot, Coughlin Park, sometimes very underused. Because of some limitations with parking, but that's the next step I have to work with the town manager on, come up with a better parking plan down there for the neighbors down there. So going forward, that was one project, and again, we were fortunate enough to get a grant to do this from the Winthrop Foundation. That's going to cover just about all the expense for that. They were very excited about it, and people looking for this, so we're looking to move forward. On the next slide, you're going to see down at the Walden Street basketball courts called the McKenna Courts, which is down below the Cummings School. Those were done over when the Cummings School was built the year after. They had to replace what was there before. We shifted the angles of them. So now it's time. As you can see, there's cracking, grass going through the cracks. They need to be done over. So we also put in a grant with the foundation for that as well. They understand how widely used that is, and I think people drive by there on a regular basis in the spring and summer. Sometimes late at night, there's people out there playing basketball. It's probably the biggest facility outside we have that's used. If you did a survey, I guarantee you that's the best recreational area we have for the kids that hang out there. So with that said, we're very thankful for the Winthrop Foundation to get these 2 projects off and running, hopefully soon. By the spring next year, I think you'll see brand new pickleball courts, and I think you'll see a new basketball court. When I say new basketball court, just the surface. The hoops are already fairly new there, about a couple years old. We've replaced them every other year, and we're looking to continue taking a couple of sections of parks throughout the next couple of years and working with the Winthrop Foundation and other opportunities for grants somewhere to maybe add some other things as we go forward. But I think people will be very happy with the final outcome of this, hopefully by next spring. Thank you.
Now, next up is a department that's constantly busy and really gives everybody a run for their money as far as how much work they get done. So I'm going to introduce Steve Calla, Director of Public Works. He's going to give an update on all the road work and projects we got done this year.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Tony, for giving me an opportunity to give a quick recap of some of our accomplishments that occurred in fiscal year 22 and the beginning months of fiscal year 23. Although the department continues to be faced with staffing challenges, we're lucky to have a group of dedicated and committed men and women who continue to be very productive and continue to work each hard to keep our community maintained and moving forward. With the help of Larissa, we've prepared a few slides to showcase some of these efforts. So this first slide shows some of the sidewalk replacement work that was done this year. This work was done under the annual sidewalk replacement contract. The particular work that you're looking at on this slide occurred on Highland Ave, opposite Crest Ave Playground. This work makes up some of the 4,500 square yards of deteriorated concrete that was removed and replaced in this year's contract. This annual contract allows us to keep the streets and sidewalks accessible and safe for our pedestrians. I wanted to include this slide. This is a picture of our salt shed refurbishment project. This is the salt sheds in the backyard of the DPW. It's an integral part of our snow and ice operations. The shed houses approximately 400 tons of road salt that we use each year. I'm sorry, actually, well over we use the shed, we use well over 400 tons. We use about 90 tons every time we go around the town for one salting event. So having a stockpile gets us through the storms, allows us a time to order more salt for the preceding storms, following storms. And this is a very important project. The work on this shed will include new architectural shingles, new roof flashings, new sheathing, some structural repairs, as well as some siding repairs as well. So that's an ongoing project that should be completed at the end of November. This slide represents one of the 25 roadways that was performed in this year's mill and overlay project. This project replaced approximately 40,000 square yards of deteriorated asphalt townwide. It was funded, this particular contract was funded with ARPA money, Winter Recovery Assistance Program money, and Chapter 90 funds. Again, it's this type of commitment that really we need to make each year if we want to stay on a proper cycle for resurfacing our roadways throughout town, which is every 20 to 25 years. The work under this particular contract was north of $600,000, but that's the commitment that needs to happen if we want to keep our roads, properly maintained and safe to travel. This slide represents the application of a high visibility crosswalk. This particular crosswalk was applied on one of the new sections of Veterans Road that was resurfaced. This is in the area between Cutler Street and Washington Ave. DPW staff were able to repaint 300 regular white crosswalks and 50 of these high visibility blue crosswalks this year. You'll see these in all school zones and any high volume areas. You'll see one down across near the marketplace, this particular crossing at Dorp Playground, which links a child care facility to the playground. So this is a picture of several seawall restoration projects. They occurred at Pebble Ave rather, and the end of Shirley Street, which is the dead end down past Triton Ave. The lower pictures also showcase, our commitment to keeping beach access ways updated and safe. these railings were installed at Halford Beach, which is adjacent to Nahant Avenue. So this is just additional pictures of our curb and sidewalk work. So in addition to our annual contract, we did a substantial amount of sidewalk work in the CBD reconstruction project. We did significant sidewalk work in a Bartlett Road project, which I will get into in one of the next slides. But this particular work, the upper picture is a picture of Brookfield Road. We were actually able to redeploy 1,700 linear feet of curb from the Center Business Project because the curbing in the Center Business Project was a full replacement, and we redeployed the curbing from that project to install new curbing along Brookfield Road, as well as over 3,000 feet of new sidewalk work. So the lower picture is a picture of Pleasant Street in the area between Somerset Ave and Woodside Ave. This was a work that was done by the same contractor that did the CBD project. We wanted to tie in all the what I call the finger streets, Somerset Ave, Woodside, Bartlett Road, to the Center Business Project. So this is, we resurfaced the road there, and we also removed and reset all the curbing in that stretch and new sidewalk work with all ADA compliant handicap accessibility ramps. So this is the project I was talking about a minute ago. This is the Bartlett Road Water Main Replacement Project. This project replaced approximately 3,000 linear feet of aged and failing water main on Bartlett Road, Eggleton Park, Sherrill Lane, and Bartlett Parkway. In addition to the water main replacement, we did a full reclamation of the roadway, removed and reset all the curbing in that area, and installed new concrete sidewalks within the project limits. Finally, I think I've been up here at least 2 fall forums. With the Center Business Project was an ongoing project. I'm happy to show some finished photos of the project. Picture on the left shows the new French Square Plaza and dining area. The next picture is a subtle highlight of the old narrow gauge railroad system that used to go through this area. Actually ran down Hagman Road. That's the walkway between the current, I still call it the Samuels building, Samuels is no longer there, and the Center Cafe. The next picture shows some of the stamped asphalt inlays that was used on the crosswalks around the French Square area. And then the last photo is some landscaping improvements or upgrades that surround the new French Square Plaza. This project represents a $13 million investment in the Center Business District. It upgraded and upsized all 3 primary utilities, being water, sewer, and storm drain, as well as a long list of upgrades to streets, sidewalks, lighting, and many other infrastructure components of that area. So I'm particularly proud of it, and the community should be as well. That ends my show and tell, but I did want to, I felt it was still necessary to kind of talk about some of the other work that we were able to get done. My eyes aren't that good, so I got to cheat. And so the department was able to still remove, in addition to the work that you just saw, we were able to remove another 100 full lead services from the distribution system, which the town manager talked about in the earlier meeting. Our commitment to remove all of our lead services from the system over the next 4 years. We currently have 418 full lead services remaining, which is, you know, still, it's a small piece, but it's something that, you know, we want to get out. We have 4,537 active services in town, 418 remain lead, and we'll have them all out within the next 4 years if we stay committed to our lead line replacement project, which is a mandate under DEP. We also repaired 12 water main breaks. We repaired 22 water service leaks, installed 6 new fire hydrants, cleaned 123 catch basins, which is a requirement under our DEP MS4 permit. We repaired 94 catch basin and manhole structures. We completed 120 cemetery interments, planted 47 new public shade trees, and pruned 156 existing shade trees. The department was able to deploy 600 tons of asphalt for routine maintenance and trench repair of the roadways. We responded to 5 snow events and performed 18 salting exercises where approximately 2,000 tons of road salt was applied to our town roadways to ensure safe travel conditions for the community. And that salt shed that you saw is, like I said, it's an integral part of our operation. We can't do our work without the road salt we need. Lastly, we closed out an additional 1,964 resident-generated work requests that were submitted through our C-Click Fix work order system. That's a significant feat. That's a lot of work done by a small department, and I'm proud of the team. And we continue to try to hire and fill the voids that we have, but we do have a very, very committed and dedicated team down there. Real quick, lastly, it's not on the slide, but I'll give you a quick look ahead for the next year. We're currently designing 2 SRF-funded projects. One is water main improvements on Revere Street, Crest Ave, and Grover's Ave to prepare us for our upcoming TIP project. We have another SRF project being designed and engineered for improvements to our PRV station and our water tank. The PRV station is it's a pressure reducing station. It's the heart of our distribution system. It maintains the operating pressure that we need, so we don't negatively impact our infrastructure. And I'm sure that a lot of people in this room remember several situations, most recently where our PRV system, our PRV valve failed closed. And it's like a light switch. The town was without water for about an hour and a half until we were able to work with MWRA, who's been a big ally to us. We were able to backfeed the system and get the system back up and operational. 2023 is also when we anticipate putting the TIP project out to bid and get it awarded for a spring of 2024 construction start. And in addition to that, you know, we'll be working on our 100 lead services and our next contract for lead line replacement. And I can't stress enough that I hope the town continues to stay committed to our sidewalk contract and our annual paving contract. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Great job. All right, and last but not least, we're going to bring up Meredith Hurley to give us an update on her CLEAR program, Community and Law Enforcement Assisted Recovery. All right. Yeah, that's a round of applause. She's going to give you all the good news. Look at that. I'm not even going to steal her thunder. Go.
Thank you. Many of you have probably heard me say that public health fails when it rises to the surface. Something's gone wrong if I'm in front of you kind of speaking about public health, and I spoke a lot to you in the last 2.5 years. So I'm happy that we can talk about something that is not necessarily COVID related, but I think that it'll be a long time before we're not tying things back to COVID. So the CLEAR program, I'm sure most of you have heard me talk, either myself, the chiefs, Lieutenant Jajarian, about the Community and Law Enforcement Assisted Recovery Program. So back in 2014, I personally had never heard the phrase police reform at that point, but that is really when public health aligned with public safety, because we were seeing very much, as a result of the opioid epidemic, we were seeing a lot of loss in the community. We were concerned about that. So at the time, myself, Chief Flanagan, and Chief Delahanty, I was new to the town, and I said, we started talking about it, and we were trying to figure out different strategies because it wasn't working. People were still dying. So kind of the red on this, I tried to organize this as best I could. So the red on the slide are the problems that kind of rose to the surface that we were trying to address. So really it started off by looking at the high rates of fatal and non-fatal opioid overdoses. So with that, public health and public safety came together, informed our collaboration, which really meant that the Winthrop Police Department allowed for a police officer to door knock following overdoses. So, and with that officer, we had a trained peer recovery coach. So a peer recovery coach, for anybody who's not aware, is somebody with lived experience that works with somebody to take them down the path of recovery. It can look many different ways. It can be harm reduction. It can be, giving them Narcan so that they or a family member, has it in the house for safety. And then it kind of progressed. We were awarded a grant from the Department of Mental Health to hire a part-time social worker, and that social worker was involved with the health department, sat at the health department, but really was trying to serve public safety as a jail diversion. We want to keep people out of jail. What we really want to do is keep people out of the emergency systems. We don't want to see people in jail. We don't want to see people in emergency rooms. That's really like what it boils down to. So our licensed clinician started working with us. She's trained in de-escalation. The police department has trained 99% of the officers. It depends on the new hires and the old hires, but about 99% of them have been trained in the crisis intervention team model. We are now pushing, and Chief Wiley, we have the full support of Chief Wiley. We're going to the technical assistance providers and saying we need to train our fire department in the same tactics. Yes, they don't carry firearms, but they are responding at the same time. And in a department, a town like Winthrop, they're working together so closely that we really feel like that's something important to do. And then we continued on, and one of the challenges that we had at the beginning was our money was really tied to opiate work. And here in Winthrop, alcohol was a bigger issue, continues to be a bigger issue, a bigger substance that we're concerned about. So it felt funny to say to somebody, well, we would love to work with you, but you are not a heroin user. So we can't because our funding, so we didn't do that. That wasn't logical, that wasn't ethical. So we figured out how to switch it and how to move it. And then it kind of kept growing and kept growing. And so, and then the pandemic happened, and we had a core group of folks. There's a great saying that said, in an emergency, you don't want to hand out your business card. So I knew all the players at that point. I knew who was working on mental health, who was working on substance use, who was working in emergency management. And so they came along with us, and they were servicing, phone calls to folks that were isolated in the beginning part, the anxiety, the fear that people were having. Those are the folks that were calling after we did our contact tracing to, address any sort of mental health concerns. So we already had that team together. The CLEAR team has been pivoting and pivoting and pivoting with the needs of the community. And that's really where the success has been with this program. We now have Winthrop Police Department assigned full-time, lieutenant assigned full-time to the health department. He sits at the health department. He's highly trained in mental health tactics. He's continuing to get his education. And so that is something that is unique for Winthrop. We hear that all the time, that other communities have not been able to dedicate a police officer that is also so highly trained in mental health. So that is something that has been hugely helpful to us. And so now we're continuing to broaden, because as we've been growing, we've been talking a lot more. We've been doing evaluation. We've been doing really fancy things called like SWOT analysis, and we're doing surveys. We surveyed the fire department and the police department probably more than they would really care to talk to me about. But I keep on saying to them, like, tell me what you need, like, tell me what you're seeing, tell me what's going on. And one of the things that came out of that was that we were hearing that they didn't have enough resources around domestic violence. And that was something that even on the state and federal level, they were also hearing this, because opioid money was then shifted over, opioids were the thing. So we since then, we've been looking for grants, and we have been awarded a grant to put a domestic violence case manager in the Winthrop Health Department to work with police and fire. So that's something that we're building out. In addition to that, we also have resources for housing, childcare, transportation, and food for DV victims, which is a huge thing going forward. We also, added a community navigator. So we have a community resource coordinator who works with us, and also a community navigator. So the difference is the resource coordinator is kind of the supervisor. The navigator is kind of in the boots, trenches. Amazing additions to our department. Also Portuguese and Spanish speaking fluently. So also loves to help other departments with their translation needs. So she's been a wonderful addition as well. And so, kind of as we're going forward, Larissa, that's okay. So where are we going from this? What is the purpose? Like, how are we going to sustain and expand this? CLEAR is on the cutting edge, because we've been doing things that are now emerging as best practices. We're seeing this in so many different sectors about the overlay of public safety and public health, and how it is showing promise in research. So just recently, we've been selected to be one of 8 sites from the Department of Justice, their Bureau of Justice Assistance program. So they saw in the CLEAR program the ability to share our model that we've been doing with other police departments across the country. They came to Winthrop for 2 days, and we had the opportunity to sit with them and meet with them, and they met with the chief and the town manager, and they pretty much were saying, we have $185 million to put into the work that you guys are doing. So this peer-to-peer recovery work is showing huge amounts of promise. So, help us to help other people do the same thing. And it serves Winthrop also, because we're constantly getting more assistance, technical assistance, and program development and improvement. National recognition, which is nice, but not really what we like to, like I said, kind of be under the radar. And it's really a conduit to these federal funding opportunities. Since we've been networking on this level, on 3 different grants, I get sent grants now directly from directors at national organizations saying, this is a good one for Winthrop. You guys should go for this. So it makes my job a little bit easier. So that's been wonderful. And so the second half of this is, back in 2019, we began partnering with BU's School of Public Health, luckily right before the pandemic, but I just, you can see Boston right across the harbor, and there's 7 schools of public health that exist in the city. And as I was sitting there with like 3 employees thinking, there's so much work that I want to do, but how am I going to do it with? So then I was thinking, well, I'm going to be a parasite, and I'm going to go to the schools of public health and see how many students I can suck the knowledge out of their brain to do this work. And so that's what we've been doing. It's a very symbiotic relationship, is what I say. So it's this idea of practice-based teaching. So, the students come to Winthrop, I present them with a problem, and then they do a ton of work around that, and it really drives like the quality of our grant applications. They do a ton of writing as part of their assignments, so they turn it in. It's my property then, and I can use it as I want, and so that they also provide independent evaluation and high-level data analysis for us. So this is the second part of how we're going to sustain and expand, is that, you know, we're really keyed into researching and figuring out the problems of like why. Like, so substance abuse is a symptom of something, right? So like it's coming out in some way. So we want to get to the very root cause of that, but it comes through many different layers. And so we're trying to see how those layers kind of interconnect. And so then we map our interventions based off of that. So that's the science piece behind it. And these evaluations also significantly contribute the strength to our grant funding applications. And where we're going to go from here is, right now, because of the success that we've had with grant funding, we are in the process of hiring, as I said, our domestic violence caseworker. We also were just funded for a youth mental health clinician part of our community health needs that we did this fall. We're hearing so much from parents and adults about the wait times to see a mental health clinician. So we're going to have, when all hiring is done, we'll have a youth-specific clinician in our office. We also have been funded for an additional social worker to work with public safety, and then 2 adult clinicians as well. So what we're really focusing on is reducing the barriers to folks accessing mental health care by not asking for insurance, not requiring insurance, not requiring fees. And we feel like that's an equitable way to deliver services here. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. And again, that's just, folks, we had 3 great department heads up here, and that's just a small sampling. I mean, I have to credit all of our department heads: police, fire, finance, planning. I can go on and on, but I mean, we've got great department heads here in town, great employees. They're all working hard, and this is just a small sampling of things we're getting done. I'm 5 months in. I'm looking forward to the next, 3.5 years and longer, hopefully, if all goes well. So we got a lot to get done. I can tell you the council's dedicated to, not only whether it's a fire station or a combined public safety building, redoing, finding another use for the middle school site. All these projects are coming, forward in the next year or so, for consideration. They're being looked at thoroughly. They're going to have some great plans for you. We're also talking about doing a strategic plan to, look at the town as a whole. Like here, as you're getting ready to vote for maybe a public safety building, know that this is coming down the pike. Here's the other funding things that we have to do with the town, and, and how it's going to impact your tax bill, ultimately. So we're going to be transparent and upfront about that, and we're going to continue to work hard for you. So I thank everybody for coming, and I'll certainly take some time to take some questions. Anyone? No? Mr. Munson?
On one of the articles that I printed for you guys, it showed that Winthrop safety is very good in comparison to the rest of the state.
Yep.
Would you concur, or can you bring that to life?
Absolutely. I mean, I could, your police chief talked about it during the video. Chief Delahanty, you guys do a great job here. It was one of the things that drew me to the town. You've got great police, fire, public safety, public health. I can tell you, I've been in this business for 15 years. Mental health and addiction issues exist in every community, whether it's rural, South Shore towns, affluent towns, it doesn't matter. It exists everywhere, and people are trying to create the programs that Winthrop's already created. So you guys are really the trendsetters and leading the way with that. So I can tell you, you're doing an amazing job. So.
If I could just add to that, it's teamwork. Each individual department could not accomplish what we have accomplished since I've been chief in 2009, with public health, DPW, fire. Before 2009, everyone was too concentrated on trying to get the small pool money out of the council for their own individual departments, which caused friction in these departments. And since 2009 forward, I'm sorry. Since 2009 forward, you had much more collaboration between the departments. You get a lot more done when you have such collaboration. So, hats off to all the departments for coming together to stop the divisiveness and kind of join the team. We're going to get a lot more done. Otherwise, in silos, we're just moving the problem around the town and not resolving the problem, or we're moving it to our neighbors and not resolving the problem. So as Meredith said earlier, it's peeling back that onion, trying to get to the underlying causes and addressing the underlying causes. And a lot of it is grant money and funding from the council. And where issues in the school, the council stepped up and hired a school resource officer without the grant money in mid-budget cycle, which is never done. They never give money mid-budget cycle. So hats off to the council for financially supporting the most important things in this community. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? No? All right, I'll pass it back to the council president to wrap it up.
Yeah. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, everyone. I just want to, again, applaud our department heads for the great job they do. On behalf of the council, we're very appreciative between the department heads, all the workers we have for the town of Winthrop, the schools. It's really an amazing town, and to be able to focus on a lot of the positives that have been done is just so well worth it. And, a lot of good stuff has happened over the past year, but I would be remiss to say that I feel one of the biggest, if not the biggest, was the hiring of our new town manager. I think Tony's been an incredible asset in such a short period of time. He's really become part of the fabric of the community. You see him at events on the weekends, you see him here at night, obviously you see him during the day. I just feel very blessed that we were able to secure Tony on our second go-around, I guess, our second chance. We got our second bite at the apple, and we were very fortunate, I think. So I thank Tony for being here. I also encourage the citizens to take a look at the E.B. Newton and take a look up at the clock tower, as that's coming to completion after a long time. Very well worth it. And none of the stuff we look at, again, we thank the department heads, we thank the workers, we thank our town leaders and town managers, but none of it can be done without the citizens, right? Because ultimately, and there's no other way to say it, we can't do any of it without the citizens. So we're very fortunate to live in such a loving, small, knit community. And I thank you all again for coming. Thank Larissa for her work tonight. And I believe our Veterans Agent has shown up, and it is a happy birthday to our Veterans Agent, Phil Ronan. There we go. Happy birthday. Many birthdays. But again, thank you all for coming. We will see you in the spring at our next public forum. Take care. Good night.